Call the Oak Creek Fire Protection District Board of Directors meeting for Thursday, June 27th to order. And if you would, please join me.
Recording in progress.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If you would, kindly remain standing while we go through our recognition in honor of our fallen firefighters.
Thank you, President Pixley. Since our report last month, we have lost 14 more of our brothers and sisters. Leslie Denise Smith, 69, from occupational cancer. Marco Solis, 49, from occupational cancer. Anthony McVeigh, 47, of a medical emergency. Matthew Deasing, 47, occupational cancer. Kenneth Caldwell, 63, heart attack. Paul Scott Ritchie, 64, occupational cancer. Sean Coles, 50, occupational cancer. Matthew Troy, 32 years old, occupational cancer. Benny Falagi, 62 years old, heart attack. Jean Martin, 55, suicide from PTS-related illness. Andrew Pontius, 52, on the fire ground during a vehicle fire. Michael Taylor, 63, occupational cancer. Michael Barnes, 64, occupational cancer. Travis Ransom, 49, occupational cancer.
Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you.
If we could take just one additional moment, many of you got the email. While he was not a firefighter at the time, we lost Alex Parks, who was a firefighter for Elk Creek for a significant number of years just this past month. He leaves behind a wife and 3 children. So keep his family in your prayers too.
Thank you, Director Devine. All right, roll call of board members. We're all present. I see everyone here. I would ask the board members to please look at the agenda and see if there's any additions or deletions. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? Last time, additions or deletions? Hearing none, I'll-
Yeah, Director.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The audit presentation by the Adams Group, are they here tonight?
I think we have them. Are we electronic with the Adams Group?
Yeah, Zoom.
Okay. So they're not here, but they will be electronic.
So they're not going to be present?
They're not going to be present, but they will be presenting.
Okay. I have an objection that we haven't been given enough time to read the audited financials. And I'd like to ask that we bring them back at our regular meeting next month.
I'll do one better. I'll allow them to present tonight. We'll take that information to be able to evaluate the information that they have provided, and then we can take further questions to them. But by statute, correct me if I'm wrong, statute that directs us to have the presentation tonight. So unless you want to violate the statute, I would prefer to allow them to present, and we can
Question
and then
follow up with questions as we have them. Is that the sense of the board? Okay.
Any other additions, deletions? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And that takes us directly to the audit presentation by the Adams Group. Is it first name Brian, is that correct? What's the name of the gentleman?
Is he on?
Doesn't look like it.
What's his actual product? Anybody on Zoom, if you wouldn't mind typing your name and let me know who's out there, that would be helpful, thank you.
He's not on? Well, then I guess we're gonna have to wait until he's actually
I
on.
beg your pardon, Barb?
We're gonna have to wait until he's on, because he said he was.
Would
Wait,
you,
what's his name?
Do you want me to call him?
yeah, if you wouldn't mind,
Okay.
and that we can get into our public comment period.
Okay.
John, would you do me a favor, just see if there's any, I'm sorry, the other.
Two Johns.
Right in the line side. Thank you, I appreciate that. Is Mr. Koch online?
Not right now.
All right. Let's start with Mr. Whitehead.
As a prepared text, I'd like to distribute. As a guide roll.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Someone here? Melissa? Give this to you as a member of the press.
Thank you, Neil.
Director Pixley, I wonder if you could give me some minute and so forth. I've got quite a bit, and it'll help me to get my presentation completed.
You're asking for another minute, or?
No, I'm asking you to give me a minute, first minute call, second minute call.
Oh, yes, sir.
Happy
By all
to do
means.
so.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Whitehead,
Yes.
I'll handle that.
All right. Tonight, my title, my talk is On the Road to Consolidation. Here are some items that must be done by the Elk Creek Fire Protection District and/or board before there's another valid attempt at consolidation. Number one, a check register needs to be published on the ECFPD website monthly and maintained, quote, forever. Is that so hard to do? Jefferson County does it in the Canyon Courier. Financial transparency to the public is needed. Two, video of the monthly board meeting and other important district community meetings to be posted on the Elk Creek Fire Protection District website and to be maintained, quote, forever. Board meetings are done by video by Mountain Town, but it's not the same as the official record. That'll save you chorus and associated foo-for-ah. Three, never to use taxpayer dollars to hire a consultant to devise a strategy to raise our taxes as employed in last year's consolidation attempt. And that's perfectly legal, but perfectly stupid from the standpoint
1
of
minute.
achieving mill levy increases. The board and the fire chief must apologize to the voters and pledge never to do again as long as they're in a position of public trust. 4, the board must vote to cause an audit of the consolidation expenses leading up to the November 23 election. Director Baker, at the last meeting, said she thought an audit is needed, and I'm pretty sure Director Newby would second that motion. Taxpayers want to know what it costs them. This will help them to assess what they have to pay in rodeo lingo for a rewrite. 5, to review the entirety of the CRRF, pronounced CERF program. It's an expense account reimbursement program, which is about $1 million item on the Oak Creek Fire budget. This
2
program
minutes.
involves activities of the Elk Creek fighting fires out of district. There's no accounting for profit and loss. This is obscuring the net gross income of the district. 6, the soon-to-emerge strategic plan for the Elk Creek Fire Protection District must include a decisive plan to encourage volunteerism. The solution is at a statewide level and involves providing significant benefits of value such as tuition for firefighter or spouse or children for a charter school, college, or trade school located in Colorado. If you're single, you can transfer, it's transferable. Elk Creek should promise to take the lead in securing bipartisan sponsors in the State House and Senate for the legislation session beginning in January 25. We want to have volunteers clamoring to get into the Fire Academy. This will face stiff union opposition, but it can be done. 7, reconstitute the 2 public comment periods at the monthly board meetings. The oral rule of only a 30-minute comment period in a time where there's great turmoil and challenges. Did you say that's up?
That's it, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and I know I'm not supposed to engage the public, but I wanted to let you know that the chief and I have had discussions about your proposal last month, and we are evaluating how it might be implemented. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next would be Mr. Koch.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Are we muted?
Can you hear me?
Flip, we can hear you. Can you not hear us?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can hear you. I just wasn't sure whether it worked the other way. Thank you, folks. I'm on a fire. I have to be brief. I'd like to thank, first of all, the Board of Directors for the revisions to the expected behaviors at these comment periods. I believe these have added materially to both improvements in efficiency and civility at these meetings. And I thank you as a citizen and a contributor to these comment periods. This said, I have a few suggestions for procedural revisions for your consideration. 1, as there is only 1 comment period at the moment, make this period much later in the session. Otherwise, matters that arise during the meeting must remain without comment for a month, when an immediate comment, if needed, would be more timely and effective, in my opinion. 2nd, allow anyone who observes your rules to speak, but please give priority to those who pay property taxes in Elk Creek Fire Protection District. They are those, after all, who elected you and deserve to be heard first. 3, the criterion for this should be exactly what I said. Do you or do you not pay property taxes to Elk Creek Fire Protection District? Not, do you have an address within Elk Creek Fire Protection District? Any fool can open a post office box in district and claim to be a resident, but does not necessarily pay property taxes here. And 4th and finally for the moment, add more time. I agree with Neil that 3 minutes are sometimes insufficient. We had had 6 until these revisions were made. I'd like to consider upping it to 4 or 5. You can limit the number of people and still have the same amount of time devoted to this, but I think 3 minutes is a little short. And that's all I've got, and I've done it in under 3 minutes, so thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Koch. All right, that will lead us to Mr. Olson.
Okay. So I kind of like to talk about that ugly thing called the bike park for a minute. The original proposal that your people looked at said 300 cars. And now we're hearing from the applicant it could be as many as 1,600 cars. Or 1,600 people, we're not sure. However, having said that, are you ready to do rescues from things like a chairlift 30 feet in the air? Do you have the training and the equipment and the staff to do that? What about the firefighting? Do we need fire hydrants there or standpipes? Do we need equipment at the top of the lift for first aid or for fire at the top of the lift since everything's down at the bottom? What firefighting And what do you need for the maintenance facility? Because there's gonna be a lot of chemicals there and a lot of probably volatile liquids in that location. And what are you gonna need them to do to help you deal with that? I mean, there's a lot of things that, as this thing gets bigger and bigger, that is gonna impact you all. And I don't think you've thought it through quite fully enough yet.
Thank you. And that leads us to Mr. Leo.
Thank you, appreciate the opportunity. Just a couple things real quick. The first one is the impact fees. I know there's an ongoing effort by the chief and the district to look at impact fees for development and things like that. I think it's a good plan. It's right on the money. Would look to get an update from the chief or from the board at one of the upcoming meetings. I think it's something that's definitely needed to address the different types of development that potentially can come to Conifer. Secondly, looking at the agenda tonight, there's a new business item, executive session, having to do with the performance and compensation of the chief. I would like to give my endorsement as a resident and a citizen and a taxpayer of Elk Creek Fire Protection District that we've got a damn fine chief. And I think we need to make sure that he stays here. And so I know that those things are coming, but my input to the board is we've got a damn fine chief and we need to make sure he stays. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leo. All right, that ends our public comment period for this evening. We are going to jump back in the agenda.
Can I add my name to it? Do we need to walk up there and write it in? I didn't have it on there.
Sure. You want
Do I need to
just,
like sign up?
I'll write it in.
Amy?
What's your name?
Burdette, Amy Burdette.
Amy Burdette.
Yes.
And Amy, what's your topic?
Comments on the previous comment and on the new public comment rules. And is new topics allowed during the comment period as well? I know before it was old topics and new topics. So anything?
Okay, and then anything else?
Yes, the Colorado State Patrol's hotline. I want to make a comment.
This Colorado State Patrol
Hotline?
hotline, got it. And then do you reside in Elk Creek?
I do.
Thank you. Please begin.
Thank you. First, I appreciate the new public comment procedure rules. They're very clear, and I think they make sense. So I missed last week when they, last month, but I think it's working. To a second comment of another speaker, Mr. Whitehead asked for or criticized a consultant review of consolidation, and I wanted to make a comment on that as a consultant, I think it's in a different field completely. I think it's important for boards and users of public money to have third parties to review the proposals or how to spend money or how to move forward on projects, because I think third parties that come in and review can see pros and cons that perhaps folks that are close to an issue don't always see. So I will give that perspective of consultants having an advantage to when decisions are made, especially when they're large impacts. And my topic on Colorado State Patrol hotline, I am a frequent driver on 285, so the hotline is star CSP, which is star 277. I think people calling into that may help prevent accidents that otherwise the department would be called to react to. So I would like to comment that I have called that line several times in the past to report people that are just doing things that are aggressive. Recently, they changed their call tree, so now the call-in line, which is supposed to be a safety thing, now tells you that you have to press a number to talk to a person. And I don't know how that works when they tell you not to text, but then the hotline tells you to press the number 2 to talk to a person. This might be completely outside of your realm, but it is preventative and safety related and could prevent unnecessary calls in the future by reporting someone before they cause the accident. So, if you want to call it sometime, when you're driving and you tell your phone to call it, your phone will dial it, but then your phone will not allow you to just say the word "to" and get to talk to the person that would then be able to take down the message to prevent the accident. So if there's anything you can do, or the rest of the public can do to make that more useful to Elk Creek, to everyone, I would appreciate anything that you can do, a letter, if you know someone on the Colorado State Patrol that would listen to you, then please, please help. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to jump back. That completes our public comment period. We're going to jump back to the audit presentation by the Adams Group. I believe we have them on Zoom. And
we do, and give me 1 second. I have to, I'm going to reshare a different screen. Let me see if I can make that up here. In order for you guys to see his screen. Or I can jump on Zoom here. Okay, I'm not booting other people right now. Okay.
Recording.
I think we're good. Okay, Eric, can you hear us?
I can. Can you guys hear me okay?
Perfectly well. I think you should be able to share your screen now, and everybody on Zoom and in the room should be able to see you.
Awesome. Awesome. I appreciate it. Apologize. Gymnastics ran a little longer than I thought it would, so I was scrambling to get home. Thanks for having me. I'll keep it at a 30,000 foot level and open it up to any questions. I will caveat, we are still in draft format. With that said, everything on our end is going through our final review process. I expect to have everything wrapped up probably early next week. Everybody see my screen okay?
It's not sharing yet, Eric. We can only see you.
Oh, I missed the button.
There you go.
How about now?
Yes.
Perfect. I'm going to start with our required communication to governance. We, at the beginning of the audit, prepare and provide a preliminary governance communication, which is really just outlining auditors' responsibilities versus management's responsibilities. Really the new item this year is for 2023, there's a new accounting standard that the district was required to implement. Basically, anytime you enter into a subscription-based IT agreement from here on out, they're going to require you to put an asset and a liability on the books. And so for purposes of 2023, you're going to see a new item up here that is, I got to find it now. I'll find it once we get into it. But those types of agreements now are going to have to be picked up and recorded within the district's financial statements. Accounting is not an exact science. There's a lot of numbers in here that we consider to be estimates. For example, all of the activity related to the FPPA pension plans, we consider those to be estimates because they can change from year to year pretty significantly just based on actuary reports. So we do work over them and get to a point of getting to a conclusion where all of those numbers are materially reasonable. We do or will provide a listing of adjusting journal entries. Really the process starts when Barbara gives us a trial balance. From there, anything that we essentially have to post or correct, we consider to be a corrected misstatement, and anything that falls into a kind of a different materiality threshold, we're not required to correct, but we have to report it out. And so any of those will be uncorrected misstatements. So you'll see those with kind of our final package that we release here next week. We will have another letter dated, 6/30 or July 1st, and really it's just outlining internal control items that we came across. Really what those are related to is the financial close and reporting process. Really the journal entries that we post that get the new property tax numbers, get the new EMS numbers, get those items to be where they need to be as of 12/31/2023. That's really what all of these just little comments are updating the lease activity, recording of AP, so on and so forth. For 2023, year ended 12/31/2023, district will receive unmodified or clean opinion. I always do like to point out we do perform the financial statement preparation for the district, but at the end of the day, management is responsible for the financial statements. We provide a copy to Barbara and her team, and they review them, and then from there, they ultimately accept responsibility for those statements. Our responsibilities really are to express an opinion over the financial statements based on the work that we perform, or the audit that we perform. With that, really, like I said, probably the biggest item this year is to update this. I think it's no. Really, the biggest item this year. This lease was recorded last year. I'm trying to catch my bearing. Never mind. I lost my train of thought. How about this? How about I'll open it up for you guys for any questions, comments, or concerns?
I know this is a draft form, but we're just showing some dates that are incorrect. On the very top of the document, it's showing 2022, it's showing 2022.
You know what I did?
Throughout the document.
Here we go. Yeah, here, let me do this. That's my mistake. I opened up the financial statements that I sent her last year because I still got them sitting out in my local folder. Here we go. Yeah, that's my apologies. This is what I was trying to show. For 2023, there's this new IT-based subscription agreement. And basically what they're going to make you do is it's for IT software. It's a 3-year agreement. I believe the company was MIP, if I got that right. And then essentially over the course of 3 years, the district is going to pay a total of about $83,000 in terms of one-time charges, and then it's $15,000 annually for those 3 years. And so what this new standard does is it says, hey, you've locked into a multi-year agreement, and with that, we want to see that that asset and that liability on the books. And so now when we make payments, Barbara will still record it exactly how she's always recorded it within the general fund, but now rather than it being shown as an expense each year, when we get to the government-wide statements or your governmental activities, now it's going to sit up here as this asset number right here, and then you'll also have this offsetting liability down below. And so that's kind of what this new standard does for terms of the district. So to be cognizant of these agreements that you might be entering into. Now they're just picked up, they're reported a little bit differently. So just something to think about when you guys enter into them or sign off on them as a board.
Just for clarification, Eric, these are only for multi-year agreements, correct?
Exactly. Anything that, really the caveat is anything that's 1 year or less, 12 months or less, it doesn't have to be picked up. You just record that as an expense as you've been doing. Or if the district or the external party, if either of you have the right to cancel the agreement at any time, then we don't have to pick it up, because they say, let's not worry about getting it on the books. If tomorrow you guys can pick up the phone and make a phone call and back out of the agreement. So those are really the two big caveats that you'll have. For 2023, your general fund saw an increase of $940,000 from 2022 to 2023. Really a big component of that is just the property tax and then those intergovernmental revenues that you guys receive each year. Probably the only other big difference that you're really going to see is in 2022, that FPPA cost sharing plan that the district is a member of, it had a net pension asset and kind of that change in estimate again. This year it flipped to a net pension liability. So now the district on that government-wide or governmental activities set of financial statements, now you've got about $120,000 liability, and that's related to that cost-sharing pension plan that the district is involved in.
Eric, how many years have you guys been doing our audit for us?
That I'm not 100% sure. I came over to the Adams Group 4 years ago, so 2020, and in 2020, and I believe the audit had already been done for Elk Creek when I came over. So this was my I think 3rd year working with the district and with Barbara and her team.
Chief, do you know how many years we've been with Adams Group?
I think that's correct. If I remember correctly, it was Jimmy Ray who gave us COVID
In 2020?
Yeah, 2020. And I don't remember what firm he was with. I remember his spectacular report.
Was he part of the Adams Group at that time?
I don't know if he was part of the Adams Group or not. I don't.
Was there anything you wanted to explore with that?
No, it's just kind of standard practice about every 5 to 7 years to change auditors, just so both parties don't get comfortable with each other.
That doesn't necessarily apply to commercial, because when I was with Teradata, when I was with Oracle, we had auditors for years. When I was with Citibank, we had auditors for 10 plus years.
It's a local governance kind of standard just because there's taxpayer fund available and it's just a very different beast. So switching with audit groups every now and then is not a bad thing. Just like switching bank accounts on the occasion is recommended as well. So.
Eric, the big question, 2 things. First off, the board members would like to have an opportunity with any follow-up questions. I wanted to plant that seed. Secondly, I just would like you to clarify anything that you saw that we need to focus on outside of the changes that you mentioned for the year? Should there be any anomalies or concerns that we as a board need to be focused on so that we can ensure our responsibilities in maintaining a financial program for the board that's, or for the district that's going to give us the opportunity to stay above board?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest one, and I can send this to Barbara at the end of, once we're done, wrapped up, and everything's out the door. I think probably the biggest one would just be to take the trial balance numbers that are ultimately reflected within your general fund balance sheet and statement of revenues, and just getting your general ledger as of 12/31/2023 to mirror the numbers that you see within these financial statements. I think what we had this year was we received what we call unadjusted or initial 2023 trial balance, and we had to perform a reconciliation in order to get everything to really line up from a starting spot. And as a result of that, we had what we call that past adjustment for about $20,000, just because we couldn't figure out where that reconciliation difference was coming from. And because of materiality, we were able to go the route of just recording it as a past adjustment. And so I think that's probably the biggest one, is just getting your numbers or your general ledger to align exactly with the final financial statements. We review all the board minutes throughout the course of the year, all the way up until the date of issuance. And so we can see that the board is discussing and looking at financials throughout the course of the year, looking at budget numbers versus actual numbers, signing checks, so on and so forth. One of the things that probably sounds a little off, but from our standpoint, if we can't see it, it doesn't exist. And what I mean by that is something as simple as a bank reconciliation. We test the controls over the bank reconciliation, who performs it, who reviews it. If we can't see evidence of the review by either a sign-off or a stamp or evidence of that review, in our world it doesn't exist. And so that's probably just the only other item, is just being cognizant of, we can see the checks being signed, we see the signatures, but something like a bank rec, if there's somebody reviewing those, stamp it reviewed or sign off on your initials, just so that from the external auditor's perspective, there's evidence of that review taking place. Those are probably the two biggest ones. Every year we are required to and perform an unpredictability test. So maybe 2-3 years ago, we looked at W-9s to make sure that the district was getting W-9s for all the vendors that they were paying. This year we might have looked at, if our normal materiality threshold was, $5,000, we might have made some selections for $600, $700, something well below our materiality threshold. And just performing tests over those small dollar items just to make sure that they're going through the same review process, the same type of control structure that you guys have lined up. So at least from our perspective, maybe those are some of the things that we do on a year-to-year basis that will change year to year. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And out of the point of knowledge for me, you're looking at every amount transferred, every check written in relation to all activities. So any questions related, anything that we did specific to the election would have been analyzed. Am I understanding that correctly?
We do not look at every transaction.
They don't-
Your audit would go for, your audit
It'd
would
be a
get
lot
pretty-
more money.
Okay, well, I was talking more in terms of just,
They don't,
like a Secretary of State,
no, they don't. If I may, Eric, they don't audit to that,
Yeah.
none of the auditors will audit to that level unless you're running
Yeah.
like a specific single audit on a specific federal program.
Yep.
If you wanted them to go into that level of detail, it would be quadruple the price and take twice as long. And so what they
Yeah,
do, you guys
You'd have to
take,
start in February, and you still
Yeah.
wouldn't be done.
you have to take random, I mean, that's forensic accounting at its detail level. They take, at least our auditor, Watson Coon Ryan, they take samples of stuff. So I'm sure you guys
as Eric mentioned.
emailed Barb and said, send us this check and this check and this check and this record. They
Thank
don't
you.
audit every single transaction.
Any other questions for Mr. Eric?
The letter that you were showing, is that the first draft of our final audit letter from Adams?
This one, right, which one? This
That
one right here?
Yeah. Is that our audit letter, our results letter?
This is gonna be kind of the internal control letter that
Okay.
we will issue with our with the final opinion.
Okay. And when do you anticipate that being completed?
I think it's all of our work goes through. So I did the work. All of the work will be detail reviewed by another partner, and then we implemented when I came over 3 years ago a quality review process. So what that means is then somebody who's completely unassociated with this binder is going to then basically kind of review those work papers that are higher risk on our end. So we call it kind of our unassociated quality review. And I would anticipate that those will be wrapped up here hopefully early next week.
Awesome.
Any other questions for the Adams Group?
And you're targeting to submit this before the 31st?
Before July 31st, yeah, the submission deadline is July 31st.
And right now, the way it's looking, there's not going to be any delay on that?
No,
Awesome.
no, the work's done. Now it's just a matter of, like I said, just going through our review
Secondary
procedures.
review. Awesome.
Okay, one last time, any other questions related to the Adams Group audit? Hearing none, hey, thank you very much, we appreciate it, and I hope you had a good time at gymnastics.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Again, let me know, Barbara's got my email, so if any of the board members or if you, Chief Ware, have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email and we can go from there.
Okay, thank you. All right, the next agenda item, we're going to jump back in order. Number 8, review and approval of the May 2024 regular meeting minutes. Is there a need for additions, deletions, or corrections to the regular meeting minutes from May? Additions, deletions, corrections? Last time. Additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from May 2024.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. That leads us into Treasurer Woods.
Yay. So this is the financial.
Bethany, can you show that screen on?
Share it?
Zoom?
Yeah, we're gonna sharing it on Zoom.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Let me share.
I didn't know it wasn't shared. So this is the report for month ending May 31st, 2024. So it's about a month old. Let me get right down to it. Today's June 27th. Next slide. Okay, revenue. There we go. Okay, so year-to-date revenue, at this point, at the end of May, we had not received the backfill from Jefferson County. So the backfill is not reflected in these year-to-date revenue numbers. We did receive it, Barbara, correct me, in June 10th, something like that. So again, it's not reflected in these year-to-date numbers. And that's about $400,000 of revenue that's not reflected in these numbers. So we're looking at property taxes, they're 2.8 million as of the end of May. Bump that up about 400,000 is really where we are at this point. Ownership taxes are about 122,000, interest income 143,000, lease revenue 39,000, ambulance transports 45,000, grants no change 31,000, mitigation grant 33,000, again no change. Reimbursement from Inter Canyon year-to-date is 78,000, and then SERF we're going to cover in the slide. It hasn't, as of the end of May, there was no change in the amount of district revenue. What?
Are you speaking about this line? Because it looks like you're reading from another side.
No, revenue.
Okay. And then, so let me just ask, you said it was 500,000 that we haven't received?
400,000 that we
400,000.
received in June. Therefore, it's not reflected in the year-to-date numbers that are on this slide. That's the backfill from Jefferson County. And I believe it was received like June 10th, so again, not reflected in these numbers. Next slide. Any other questions, Craig? Sorry,
Yes, thank
I didn't want to. This is year-to-date overall expenses. So we're looking at expense numbers of about 2.2 million versus a budget of 1.9 million. The year-to-date expense budget is 6.3, almost 6.4 million. So we're running a little over budget at this point. Next slide. So net income for 2024, we've forecasted the year-to-date net income to be $630,911. That's about even with 2023, so we're looking at a flat revenue picture for 2024 versus 2023. As far as we are year-to-date, actual net income is about 1.2 million. Year-to-date, actual year-to-date net income for 2023 was about 788,000. So we're actually running a little ahead of last year, but we're a little bit under budget, what we were expecting. Again, the 400,000 that we have not received from Jefferson County, which goes to income, is not reflected in these numbers. I will jump these numbers up. Next slide. Property taxes is our biggest revenue number. The budget for this year is $4,535,365. As of right now, property tax revenue, we're at 2.8 million, budget against a budget of 3 million. Again, the 400,000 that we haven't received from Jefferson County, not reflected in these numbers, is causing them to look a little bit less. Next slide. I just showed you the monthly numbers. Again, the 400,000 is not reflected in the numbers. The monthly numbers, even though they're ahead of last year, ahead of the budget, we're still expecting another 400,000. Next slide. SERF. Talk about SERF labor versus not SERF labor. So this particular slide is looking at labor, which is about 61% of our total expense budget. So this is looking at labor without SERF expenses. Budget for the year is $2,935,946. Right now, the budget is reflected at $1,069,644. Actual expenses at this point are $1,403,957. Next slide. Okay, next slide is surf labor. Thank you. For some reason, my slides aren't advancing. Hang on, I can't talk. Okay, surf labor, forecast for the year is $926,204. Budget year-to-date as of May 31st, $92,000. Actual surf labor year-to-date as of May was $67,485. So we'll talk about the actual surf amount that's we're billing the state for. So what next? Next slide. This is a slide that reflects the surf reimbursement status, and this is as of May 31st. So there have actually been some additional fires in June that are not reflected on this. So we're looking at year-to-date reimbursement not paid of, as of the end of May, of $146,288. But there's another, we're actually, sorry. So we are actually, at this point, we're at $226,779 as of June 27th. Again, this is reflected of May 31st, so therefore it does not show the total amount. At this point, we have not been reimbursed anything from the state. We have submitted, as of June 27th, the $226,779. 5 state fires, 2 in Arizona, 6 in Colorado, 2 in New Mexico, so a total of 10 fires as of June 27th. Slide. Expenses that are shown in your packet as of May 31st, $414,410 shown in your board packet. So I'm going to make a motion to approve the expenses for May 2024 of $414,410.
There's a motion made to approve the state financial ledger. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion, any questions, any comments? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Motion made to approve the state's financial ledger expenses recorded for May 2024, $410. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. Thank you, Treasurer Woods. Okay, Chief, that leads us into your report.
All right. Month May had firefighters hustling with several working structure fires. Those fires were handled by C-Shift. They had a pretty busy month. Lieutenant Hartley did a great job on both fires, keeping the losses to a minimum at both structures. This is obviously a couple weeks old, but wildfire season starting slowly across the west. We actually were able to have severity assigned in Buffalo Creek Ranger District, our neighbors down the hill in Pine, and as well as some prescribed firework with the federal partners on the Arapahoe, Roosevelt, and Pike National Forest. We're working diligently on the strategic plan for Elk Creek. All the operational divisions had work sessions during the month of May and will be incorporated into the plan. There's also a public meeting that have residents giving feedback to the department. The final plan should be delivered to the board at the July board meeting. And I've got an update for that we'll cover under another section. The apparatus committee, they have completed the design phase and a vendor's been selected. So now we're moving on to the finance component. We've got to see what they're offering and what's going to make the most sense for purchasing the apparatus. With the interest rates the way they are, we're making a tremendous amount of money with the money in the bank. Vendors right now realize that, so now they're offering a lot of concessions for paying more up front. So I'm gonna sit down with the vendor and we're just gonna kind of see what this looks like, which is gonna be the most beneficial. Lead time on them is still 2 to 3 years. And I would rather have the money in the bank collecting interest than in somebody else's bank collecting interest, something that we won't get.
Chief, a question on that. How many pieces of equipment do we have in design phase and going to be placed on order?
We have 2 ambulances that have already been ordered, that are already designed. with a set delivery of mid-25. We don't have the actual delivery date, that's what they said, and then 2 engines.
And 2 engines.
Correct.
And they are still in the design phase?
The design phase is complete, and now it's been finalized, the vendor's been selected, now I have to figure out what the, how we're gonna work it out with the vendor for ordering and payment.
Thanks.
All right, operations. Volunteer firefighters had 136 hours of staffing at Station 1 with our 36 volunteers and 4 professional firefighters per shift. We still average 3.1 people per call. 22% of our calls overlapped, and our response time was about normal at 9:36. We had 5 fires for the month of May. It was a lot. It was a pretty busy month for us. We had a total amount of, the total runs for the month was 129. Mutual aid, we asked for mutual aid 10 times, and we were asked, that means we gave mutual aid to other agencies 3 times. Transports, we had 46 transports. We did have firefighters participate in the rescue task force training with Jefferson County deputies and other law enforcement agencies. And fire prevention, we had 8 inspections, 18 letters, referrals, and insurance requests, 2 plan reviews. Elevation celebration, we started planning, and we are trying to add an MCI plan for this. It is a tremendous amount of people coming into the area, and so we are trying to refine our plan as a just in case, just so we have better planning. We are, at the fire on Bonanza, the official cause was rags that were used for staining. They were not stored or disposed of properly, and that's what was the cause of that fire. The other thing I wanted to point out, if anybody saw the CBS story, Evergreen Fire is now hiring for the first time ever. They're hiring 6 on the first round. They are in the same boat that we are with volunteerism. I was pretty surprised that CBS picked up the story, but it's kind of a big deal. I think it's indicative of what's happening across the Front Range. It's a challenge, and well, everybody, I don't know what the answer is, but the proverbial writing on the wall, North Fork has gone to a paid per call. They're paid on call now because they're not getting anybody. It's an interesting time for sure. And that's what I have.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for the Chief related to his presentation?
I have one question. Ambulance transports are up considerably this night versus last night. Any ideas why?
No, I mean, calls are up considerably too.
Yeah.
I mean, calls were, I believe, without looking at, we did have an extra, I mean, it was 102 calls to 129. I don't know why. We did have some fairly significant motor vehicle accidents that were fairly catastrophic.
I can attest to that because I was in traffic.
Yes, and everybody. Yes, we had many angry phone calls at the traffic that we should have done something about that. But, fielded those and I returned them and talked to people. There were a lot of people unhappy at the closed highway, which I pointed out was we were not caught.
So the ambulance transports are up possibly because of all the traffic accidents?
I think they're just up because of calls.
Okay.
You know, we had more calls, de facto, we had more.
And we asked for more mutual aid than we get.
That's pretty normal. We do that every month.
Right. I just want to make sure that that's something people realize, is that
And
we
most,
get more, Elk Creek gets more mutual aid than we give out.
that is correct.
And I think that's just an important thing for people to realize.
I have a question, comment.
Yeah.
Relevant to the chip-in program.
Yeah.
And so this is just for my education, because I don't see any conversation about it on the website.
Okay.
Do we, I know that the phone's open or the website opens and everybody signs up, people wait. Do we restrict people who've already received shipping services?
Not yet. And there's almost a 50-50 split on that. We've
Okay.
even had people who said you need to have a list of who receives chipping on the program and make
Yeah.
that public.
I don't care who got it, I really don't.
It's,
Director Vaney, you're saying in previous years?
Yes, so, it was brought to me by a couple of people, asking questions about the chipping program and whether or not we allow repeat property address chipping year over year over year.
Yeah.
And the comment was, a particular neighbor had seen their neighbor get the chipping truck year over year over year, where they've tried year over year over year to get in and they can't because it's full. I know that we operate on a first come, first serve. What I'm wondering is if between now and when we launch the next chipping program, could we look at possible alternatives to the way that the sign-up process goes? To make it more equitable for the entire district?
then, yes, I would be all in for ideas, anything like that. I don't know.
I'm happy to
Yeah.
sit on a committee with other board members, on a committee with the fire department itself, on a community committee to come up with ideas for solutions. Whether we go neighborhood by neighborhood, or once you've received chipping, your address is blocked for the next 3 years.
And
I
that's been
just-
something that's been kicked around.
Yeah,
And it's been in a split. We've had vehement opposition to both of those.
I know.
Whether you block people or not, my tax dollars paid for it, you can't stop me from getting it. I don't know, but I mean, if
it's a double-edged sword.
it is, and I don't know the answer, I'll be more than happy to entertain whatever ideas we can get together with Captain Yellen and come up with it. I mean, the one thing we can't do is more. We're maxed out at that with what we have. We actually just lost one of the individuals from the fuels crew due to a differing in opinions, which brings them down to one person. They're down one, so now they're down to 4, or 3. But we've also got some plans in place to make that work.
Can we refill that position, Chief?
It's
I know it's
tough.
kind of late in the
Not this
season,
time
but
of
at
year.
least market it.
The guys are trying.
Okay.
I mean-
All right, and I'm sure you saw it,
It's-
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and we have looked at it, but nobody can afford to live up here. And
It's
especially
hard to
for
commute.
a position at that rate, it's not, I think it pays $20 an hour-ish. It's not, and nobody who lives up here can afford to work for that. So it's a challenging position to fill, but yeah, they are looking at it.
Well, I guess I would remind your neighbors that Jetco has a tremendous slash
Oh.
program for $30 a load.
No, and I don't
those
think, and that's what they
funds can be
do.
written off, half of those funds, everything dedicated to the chipping program, can be written off on the state taxes annually. So there are other options in the
Absolutely.
short term until we can remedy this or try to address it. And I do think that there's an opportunity for us to enhance and ensure that we're doing what's right for the community. So-
Yeah, I know, they're not throwing a fit, and if Elk Creek's not gonna chip my slash, I'm not doing it. They're very aggressively, and this comment has come up not just with a few people, it's come up in several conversations.
No, it's very common.
Yeah,
I've heard
it's
it a
not
number of times.
it's not an unusual conversation piece, especially when the chipping program opens. I'm just trying to see if there's any other way that we can, I know we can't do more.
So
I know the crew is pushed to the max to do what they do, and I think it's amazing.
one of the options we may have, since we went to that new app and that new sign-up software that was designed by some other states that actually have programs like this, now we can actually cross-reference addresses, so we can actually see, the volume or the number of times they've been there. Before, it was all hand jamming data. So it was
Yeah.
gonna be very complicated to cross-reference all 465 addresses with all 500 addresses from last year and cross-reference to see who was there.
Yeah.
With the new software, that was one of the times, this has come up before, because it's gonna make it easier. You know, one of our shortcomings, and I'll completely own this, was the fact that everything was hand jammed. It was all manual data entry, and manual data entry there are mistakes.
Yeah.
And it happens. That was one of the reasons we went to this new software, so I'm hoping this new software is gonna give us an opportunity for that, you know, and we can explore that option to see what it looks like. Because I realize there are some addresses, they've had it every single year for the last 4 years.
And I completely recognize the argument that I pay my taxes into the program, but it's also equitable for the rest of the community who don't,
Agreed.
who haven't had that
I agree.
opportunity. So,
I like
just
the
a,
idea of enhancing it, so can we sit on it for 1 month while I work
absolutely.
with the chief and then try and
Well,
find out?
yeah, I mean, I
And then
don't,
because-
God, fix it right now.
So that we can
I
start
don't
the.
expect that in the lease.
We need to do this.
Yeah, I just think that we need to come up with some better solution, some better answers for the other 13,000 addresses in the community.
And then we'll bring that back, we'll add it to old business.
That's fine. Like I said, I'm not,
Well, no,
I
I.
don't
I'm
expect
just saying
answers
that,
right now. I'm happy.
I'd like to strategize with the chief and then see what we can bring back to the board and, maybe we could, in the next 3 months, implement something that would be more sustainable in the next year.
Yeah, you know, anything we do now, we're probably not gonna put into effect.
No, and I
next year.
wouldn't expect.
And so I hope what we can do is come up with a plan, you know, that is fair and equitable. Obviously, it needs to be that way.
When does the program open again? April
I was gonna
1st?
say, I wanna say April, right around there, it's April-ish. I'd have to
Yeah.
look at the exact date, somewhere around there.
I mean, I recognize that as a whole, not only you, but the district and the department are maxed. So by no means do I expect answers,
And the other
but I would
component,
like to see us move towards a new solution in April.
and the other component is, you know, I've said it before, but Intercanyon pretty much funds the entire tipping program.
Yeah.
You know, from labor, so I mean, we'll have to involve them as well. You
Absolutely,
know, we pay for the equipment, they cover all of the labor.
absolutely.
It would not be sustainable without them. We would not have said program.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can definitely explore it. We can kind of see what we can come up with, and hopefully next year will be smoother and whatever, you know, and if we do that, maybe, you know, every other year for people, you know,
Something
and
to
just
give
experiment and see, to give a different group of people a chance.
Yeah, just to make it a little bit more equitable. So,
Perfect, thank you.
mhm.
All right, that will lead us into old business, and I'm going to ask the chief to address our first topic of the strategic plan.
All right, so last month I said I'd probably have a draft for you guys, and we just got it several days ago. It didn't make a lot of sense to get it to you to discuss this meeting, because, well, there are several pages of it, and it just didn't make sense to do anything the week of the meeting. So, kind of got a little bit of a summary, the update. Once we get this draft, we're going to make some changes to it, clean it up, and we will probably have a presentation of that draft at the next board meeting from the consultant who did it. That's the goal. The process recognizes the importance of documenting a formal strategic plan, perhaps the first in Elk Creek's 75-year history. As far as I've been around, I don't remember a strategic plan for us. This effort will memorialize our strategic intentions moving forward. This is obviously outside of the cooperative services feasibility study. We did hire an outside consultant to help develop a long-range vision that will help us compare where we are to where we need to be. It's the first step in an enormous but worthwhile effort to holistically scope out prioritized agency efforts and how to achieve our vision. So first we kind of did talk about a lot of things that we have going on now, some of the positive things that we've done through IGAs. Our fire marshal is a split resource between Elk Creek, North Fork, and Intercanyon. She took over from Roger Parker, who's doing a tremendous job in that the prevention program is moved forward by leaps and bounds. Our fleet program is almost the same story. It's started to streamline our maintenance of infrastructure at all 3 fire districts because they, again, is a shared position between all 3 districts. What Adam has been able to do is, while cost-wise, almost cost neutral with outsourcing maintenance, what we've done is we've been able to cut our downtime on apparatus in half. Because having in-house fleet maintenance, if something's broken, he fixes it, versus having to take it to an outside vendor. The program has been amazing, and I don't ever see us deviating from that. Training division is working out really well right now. Wildland division, again, that's made up of all 3 districts. It's guided by the CWPP, which we completed. The CWPP does include North Fork. Inner Canyon, and North Fork is going to become a part of it here. We also have an honor guard. It's been a great program. We have volunteers as well as career staff, and it's been a great program put together by our own Ryan LeBaron. And mutual aid agreements to support us in our times of need. We need mutual aid. We need a lot of it, and so having these agreements in place is critically important for us. While noting our successes, we kind of have to acknowledge our organizational and personnel limitations. It's not all dolphins and rainbows. The planning process has been successful in providing structure to these difficult discussions and how to move forward as an organization. So our initial look has identified several areas of opportunity which we intend to prioritize as goals within the plan. First one, community risk reduction. Fire Marshal Parker started a community risk reduction plan, I'm not sure, 5 years ago or so. It needs to be updated. Fire Marshal Rush is going to start working on that. It's a comprehensive view of our prevention, education, and code enforcement priorities. Workforce and staffing needs. Organization-wide overextension of our current resources, which is a problem all the way around. It can lead to communication and safety issues as well as burnout and added stress on all of our staff. Infrastructure needs. You know, we're sitting right now in a building that this remodel was done, I believe, in 1994, added onto a building that was commissioned in 1964. All of our fire stations are aging, and I mean, we have 15 people working out of a 2-bay steel barn with a porta potty. So infrastructure needs is going to be one of the components we're going to, that's been identified. And the last one that was identified is communication needs. Ensuring the right communications at the right time to correct individuals internally and externally. So internal communications as well as external communications. That was one of the things that was identified in the meetings we had. This particular planning effort does not provide us with detailed information as to direct organization in the short term. We're going to continue to rely on our internal experts and division leads to provide short-term goals and inform our upcoming budget discussions. These near-term discussions will be directed by the key goals which we have identified. While the proposed high-level goals are identified in the initial strategic plan, each goal will require substantial investment and additional planning to properly holistically address our organization's ability to meet the community needs. What you can expect in the future. As of now, the delivery of the initial strategic plan next month at the July meeting. Continual updates. One of the things that we've identified is while we've had a lot of these goals in the past, they haven't necessarily been identified and names haven't been assigned to them and the committees haven't been, not codified, but made real. Once somebody's name is added to it, it should add a little pride and ownership, so I think some of these committees will be moved forward in a better state than they have in the past. Participation in robust conversations on how to advance our adopted goals and future planning efforts, reflecting our existing relationships with neighboring districts and agency partners. This is what we're working towards, and as we finish this up in the next month, in July, you guys should see what this looks like.
Any questions related to the strategic plan? All right, Chief, thank you for that update. All right, the next item on old business is the chief's contract. We're going to forego that until we get into new business. Everybody that has the agenda or has seen the agenda can see that we're going to an executive session to address the contract. As we go into new business, this is probably one of the most inconvenient components of executive session, but as president, I'm going to ask everybody that is in attendance outside of my fellow board members and Mr. DeCamille to exit, and I'll ask our our firefighters, if you would just somewhat police the doors so that we could have a private conversation. We're going to turn off the OWL, our Zoom link. Anybody online, please stand by. We will resume the meeting when we come out of executive session for adjournment. Ms. Strook as well, I don't know if you want to take your camera, and then Director Newby, you as well. If you would all exit now.
I don't think we need anyone.
It is 8:21, we're going to call the meeting back to order. We're going to jump back to
Recording in progress.
You good? We're going to call the meeting back to order. We're in old business. We're going to jump back to the fire chief's contract. Is there an actionable item that we wish to move forward with under the chief's contract?
Yes. I would like to make a motion. Ready?
Yes.
It's cheating. I'd like to make a motion to provide Chief Ware a market pay adjustment in his salary, bringing his current salary up to a total of $150,000 per annum, retro to 1/1 of 2024.
There's been a motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, discussion on the motion.
Yeah, I would just like to make it clear for everybody in the room and online and in the recording that we had gone back and forth in a lot of ways and had a long conversation, and my reasoning for this adjustment is to bring Elk Creek in line with its sister district of Platte Canyon, which pays their chief similarly and has a similar demographic, only we're bigger. So there.
We have more population also.
We have a higher population.
Would you like to speak to the motion?
I'm speaking to the motion, I'm going to agree with the motion, and all I'm adding is that the comparison to Platte Canyon is fair, but we have more population, more houses. And I think that actually increases the responsibility for fire protection.
Any other discussion on the motion? Discussion on the motion. Third time. Any discussion on the motion?
Call the question.
All right, there was a motion made. Do you want to go ahead and read that? Secretary Baker.
Vice President Dominic Devaney made a motion to give Chief Ware a market rate adjustment in salary, bringing his salary up to $150,000 per annum, retroactive to 1/1/2024, seconded by Treasurer Sharon Woods.
All right, call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against?
No.
That motion carries. Next item of business will take us back to new business, or next item on the agenda will take us back to new business. Is there any other items or actions? None? Then
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn, sir.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you all very much. Have a great evening.
That'd be very happy.
Recording stopped.